God damn it! Back to back funniness.
I'm back, and also today I'm trying a different type of video. I'm reacting to I was rich for years and my mom didn't even notice. I hope you guys like the this video because this is the first time I'm trying something different that's not scary or try not to laugh, because those are the only two I mainly focus on for whatever reason. Okay, enough of me rambling. Let's go. 3, 2, 1.
I'm about to tell you a story that's really personal. A story that led to me being in jail, all because I accepted a little money. Okay, well, a lot of money, but we'll get there. Before I really dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification, or your floor will turn into quicksand. Seriously, I've seen it happen. I was 2 years old when my mother told me that my dad had died from a boat accident, and we needed to move to a trailer park on the bad side of town because we didn't have enough money. But the worst part was my mom's health. She started losing it a bit. It was nearly impossible for her to keep a job, and she was always inviting these creeps over to be with her. When I was 5, one of her boyfriends told her she should sell me to the circus. And he was serious. When I was 12, I was getting food out of dumpsters just to have enough to eat some nights. And on my 13th birthday, when I woke up, there were loads of cards for me in the mail. And oddly, there was one strange envelope with just my first name on it. I opened the envelope and there was $300 inside. I was shocked. I had never seen that much money in my life. I ripped out the letter to see who it was from, but all it said was, "Use this wisely, pretty girl." Now that
And
It might have been like her real dad or something. Also, I just realized I forgot to plug in my microphone. So I just did that now.
now that I'm older, those words send a shiver down my spine. But at the time, I was stoked. I bought a ton of food with it and stuffed the food in my closet and under my bed. It looked like the snack aisle at the grocery store had exploded all over my room. But that was just the beginning. The envelope started coming once a week. First, it was $300, then it was $400, $500, even $600. Sometimes there was a note attached, and then sometimes there was just a smiley face. Of course, I didn't tell my mom about this. I took the money and bought myself everything I wanted.
And I I doubt that's a good idea. Yeah.
New toys, dozens of trips to the movie theater, entire afternoons in the arcade. I felt like a different person. Whenever I saw the bills piling up, I would secretly send cash in to pay for them. I shouldn't have had to do that as a 13-year-old, but I'm glad I did. To celebrate, I even bought myself a gaming system. Every time my mom would ask me how I got the money, I'd tell her, "My friend gave it to me," and she would say, "Okay." I once tried to give her money so she could buy some pretty clothes, but she refused and said, "I don't need your friend's money. I'm happy the way I am." So I tried sending her an anonymous envelope that was full of money, but she rejected the money and asked me to donate it to the church and that she wants to stay poor and not accept charity. I had to respect her for that. Rejecting free money when you're poor is extremely hard. Believe me, I know. So I stopped trying to give her money. One day, one of the letters said, "You're beautiful now. I love watching you." Now that made me want to puke.
Oh my god. That that is just terrifying.
At first, the letter started being nice. Now it's slowly getting into Creep Town.
For the first time, I really began to wonder who was sending me this money. Was it some stalker? Was it Mike, my mom's creepy ex? I started closing my blinds and barely leaving the house. Around that same time, I realized the letters were always coming on Sundays. So, one Saturday night, I sat out in the yard behind a tree, watching the mailbox. Hours passed that seemed like days, and around 4 a.m., I saw a car pull up. My heart was beating out of my chest. I could see a man in the front seat, but he was wearing some kind of mask. He got out to put the letter in the mailbox, and I stood up and sprinted towards him. He acted like I was about to murder him. He ran into the car and locked the doors. I hit the side of the window trying to tell him I just wanted to meet him, but he tried driving off. I held onto the door with all of my might, but he was just driving too fast. I got dragged for a few feet, and then I crashed onto the road as he took off, leaving me there.
Oh.
I busted my face open and had to go to the hospital to get stitches. Of course, I looked like a freak with a...
Oh, that's what happened. Jeez. That must suck.
giant gash on my face, and I was definitely going to have a bad scar for a long time. The hospital bills were stupid expensive, so I was really excited to head home and get my next letter. But when I opened it, there was no money inside. The note read, "Never do that again. If they find us, we're in trouble." I knew that instant that I was never going to try and see who the man was again. By the time I entered high school, I wanted to date, so I asked one of my classmates out, and he took one long look at me and said, "No, you're ugly." I was really struggling. With a massive scar on my face, no one really wanted to date me. On my way home from school most days, I would cry. But then I realized the power that I had. My mysterious letter sender had started putting $5,000 in every week. I started buying things for my classmates. The most popular girl got a new iPhone from me. Some other kids got skateboards, Gucci clothes, and even sneakers worth hundreds of dollars. Suddenly, everybody wanted to be my friend. Even Leo, the hottest
No, it's never a good idea to buy your friends.
boy in school. I had been crushing on him since I was 6, and he was finally giving me the time of day. I bought him watches, hats, golf clubs. I took us out to dinner every single
my
night, and we
God.
dined like kings. I was living the dream. Soon, our entire friend group was decked out in nice clothes, and people around the school started asking me for money and things. I wanted people to like me, so I just gave people what they wanted. But that didn't go over too well. One day, during lunch, I got called into the principal's office, in front of everyone. When I got inside, the principal started asking me where I was getting all this money. Even worse, he said, "Your grades aren't good enough to make this kind of money at a job." I couldn't believe he would say something so terrible. I didn't need this. I stood up and told him it was none of his business and he could shove it, which went about as well as you'd expect. I got suspended for talking back to him, which
Huh. That's surprising. I thought you would get expelled. But suspended? That's getting off easy.
wouldn't be a big deal, except he was going to call my mom that afternoon. I've never run faster in my life. I burst into our house to find my mom asleep on the couch. I took her phone from her purse and blocked the school's number, but while I was holding it, she got a text. It read, "You owe me $2,500 or we're going to have a problem." When I scrolled further up to see all the previous messages, I was shocked. Apparently, my mom had been buying illegal goods from some random guy, and he did not seem friendly. So I did what I knew I had to do. I texted him that I'd meet him at a local park and drop off the money. He insisted we do it at night, and I was insanely nervous, but I agreed. I sat in the park in the dark, and a sketchy car drove up. Then a buff guy stepped out and charged over to me. I thought he was going to jump me or something. He stopped and asked why the heck I was there. I handed him the money, my hands shaking, and told him to stop talking to my mom. But he wasn't going down with the fight. He said he was going to talk to whoever he wanted to. Frustrated, I handed him an extra grand, and he was shocked. He said he'd stay away. Thankfully. Those next few days stuck at home with my mom was a nightmare. I pretended I had a cold so I couldn't go to school. Of course, she had guys over. I was disgusted hearing her make out with them, so I snuck out the window. I ended up spending a lot of my time with Leo. He thought it was super cool I got expelled, and honestly, he made me feel like the coolest person ever. We went to the mall and shopped together every day. When he asked me to be his girlfriend, I was so happy. I posted a picture of us together, but he asked me to take it down because his parents would ground him for having a girlfriend. One day, he showed me a car he really wanted. He said I'd be the greatest girlfriend ever if I bought it for him, and I told him I would. I had thousands and thousands of dollars saved up, so who cared? When I got home that same day, I had a letter, but it wasn't a Sunday, so I was surprised. I was even more surprised when I opened the envelope and it was a huge letter. The letter said that Leo was cheating on me with Rebecca, one of our classmates. My mysterious money sender told me to stop my relationship with him immediately. I felt so grossed out. How long had he been following me? Was he actually watching my every move? For the first time, the reality that some dude had been watching me my whole life started to sink in. But was he right about Leo? I texted Leo to hang out the next day, but he told me he had plans. I immediately went over to Rebecca's house and sat behind a tree, just out of sight. And you know what I saw? Leo and her in the backyard, laying by the pool and making out. My stomach turned. I couldn't believe it. I inched closer to hear what they were talking about, and Rebecca was talking about how ugly I was. Leo laughed and agreed with her, saying he was just in it for the money. I had never been that mad before in my life. Frustrated, I stormed off and decided I needed to get revenge in the best way possible. The next morning, my suspension from school was officially up. When I pulled up to the school, I felt like $1,000,000 because I was pulling up in the exact car that Leo wanted. He was so stoked at first, thinking it was a surprise for him, so he ran to me and asked for the key. But then I dropped the bomb on him in front of everyone. We're over. This car is a gift for myself because I tolerated you all this time. I've never seen someone get that embarrassed. People were laughing at him and asking me if they could get in my car and go for a spin. And I deserved all that praise because buying the car was not easy. They were super nervous about taking all cash from a 16-year-old. And I get it, it probably looked a little sketchy, but it was my money, one way or another. Now all I had to worry about was hiding the car from my mom, or so I thought. When I came back from taking the car for a spin, there were police all over the place. They yanked me out of the car and put me in handcuffs. It felt like I was in a nightmare. I asked what this was about, and the cops told me it was for using and distributing counterfeit money. I was spiraling. The money I had been given all those years was fake? Who the heck was sending me it? Were they trying to set me up? I tried to explain through tears on the way to the police station, but they weren't having it. When I finally got there, they put me in a cold, dark room and started interrogating me. I knew I couldn't keep my secret anymore. I told them about all the letters and about how long I had been getting them. I even told them about all the things I had spent the money on. At first, they didn't seem like they believed me, but as they continued interrogating me, they realized my story hadn't changed. After 8 hours, they let me out with a plan in mind. They'd stake out the house on a Sunday, block the road, and catch the person behind this. When I walked out, my mom was standing there. She knew everything now, and she was not happy. When I told her I'd been paying our bills, she looked a bit ashamed. We didn't talk the entire ride home. When Sunday came, we both sat in the living room with the blinds open, waiting to see it all happen. I felt sick to my stomach. I was giving up someone who had changed my life, someone who had helped me so much over the years.
Dang, that sucks. But
I mean, I knew it was a problem the first time she got the money. Well, the first time it looked convincing, but as it, I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get over this cold. As it kept going, I knew the sort was some type of problem, but I did not expect it to be counterfeit money.
His car pulled up, and all the police lights flashed on. I started to cry, and I bolted out of the house to see him. I needed to apologize for all of this. He tried to drive away from the cops, and a huge chase started. The cops had either side of the road blocked off, but he was ramming into cars, desperate to get out. Sparks were flying everywhere, car alarms were going off. He was even tearing up people's yards. Finally, the cops chased his car into our front yard. They pinned him against the side of the house and yanked him out. I called out to him, apologizing while the cops held me back. Then the cops ripped off his mask, and my world fell apart. I recognized the man underneath the mask. It wasn't one of my mom's ex-boyfriends. It wasn't a neighbor. It was my dad. My dad, who had died when I was 2. Now, it was him apologizing. My mom and I stood there in absolute shock while they put him in the cop car. When we found out the real story, I couldn't believe it. After I was born, my mom and dad were fighting a lot. The stress of raising a family was apparently too much for him, so he left for work one day and faked his own death by crashing a boat. He had a float with him to get to shore, and that's when he started a whole new life. He couldn't get a job without an ID, so he started making counterfeit money to get himself by. By the time he realized how unhappy he was and how much he missed us, he thought it was too late to come back. Instead, he watched us from a distance. He knew about my mom's issues, so he gave me the money to take care of us. He had watched every birthday party, every game, every trip I had ever taken, and now he was going to jail for 20 years. Now all the money I had was gone, and I was poor again. I can lie and say I'm happier now without the money, but I'm not. And I also lost all my friends because everyone thinks my father is a mob boss. But yesterday, I received a mysterious envelope with a ton of cash inside, and to be honest, I don't know what to do.
Yo, that was crazy. Alright, see you guys.